Also, the Daily Caller has a story that the Trump administration is practically mailing Anthony Kennedy letters asking him to resign. Not doing that, but supposedly the Trump administration is trying to suggest this to Justice Kennedy that it might be time to go. And they make the point they're not being subtle about it. They've named a couple people who would be his potential replacements who clerked for him, which I guess is supposed to comfort Justice Kennedy that if he decides to retire, that somebody that he likes and respects is in line to replace him. That might be, Snerdley asks you what I think of this. This could be, Kennedy goes either way. Supposedly you watch the Washington Post style section to figure out which way. But if Kennedy's slot comes up first before one of the libs, that confirmation battle might be not quite as heated as it would be for one of the libs. Let me expand on this. Okay, here's the headline in the Daily Caller. Trump White House sends smoke signals urging Justice Kennedy to resign. I wonder any hidden messages there to Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, since they're smoke signals, and she is part Indian. I guess we'll never know. The Trump administration has quietly encouraged Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy to retire in recent weeks, sending signals meant to coax him into leaving the bench. The signals have been delivered with the subtlety of a hand grenade. The most clear indication came late Monday. New York Times' Adam Liptak, citing administration sources, reports the White House has identified Judge Brett Kavanaugh, U.S. Court of Appeals D.C. Circuit, Judge Raymond Kethledge, 6th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, as the front runners for the next Supreme Court opening. Both of them clerked for Kennedy earlier in their careers and are widely respected as serious and sober jurists. Well, I'm glad they're sober. I'm really glad they're sober. At least they have that going for them. What the heck does that mean, sober? Does that mean they're just boring and dull and they sit around and they're constantly dead serious about virtually everything that happens, even when they're watching MTV? By the way, where did it get started? I'm serious here, folks. Where did it start that people cannot comment, cannot render opinion on judges? Trump has weighed in on Judge Robart as a so-called judge, and they're having cows out there. They're going bonkers. Meanwhile, there was Obama in a State of the Union address bashing the Supreme Court, seated right in front of him, for their ruling on Citizens United. And remember, Justice Alito was sitting there shaking his head as Obama totally mischaracterized the ruling. And the left applauded that, as is understandable. Obama was going after the court that had gone after him, and they just loved it and so forth. Nobody talked about the lack of decorum, and nobody talked about the breakdown of civility. But let Trump refer to Robart, the so-called judge, and you would have you believe that the glue holding our society together has come apart. The thing is, judges can be corrupt. The thing is, judges do make incorrect decisions. They're not above criticism. I understand the idea of an independent judiciary, but folks, let's be honest about something. The judiciary has become politicized extensively, and it has been the case for years. And this is, I think, another one of the tricks of the left. You are not supposed to criticize the judiciary. You just can't. It's unseemly. It's a violation of the independence of the judiciary. It's seen as a very, very mean-spirited way of trying to bully or influence or whatever. Where did this come from? It's designed to get people to shut up. It's a leftist mechanism designed to get people to shut up and stop criticizing these leftist judges when they act like hacks instead of judges. I tell you what, I'll give you another way the Democrats play this game. They'll go get a celebrity who has a very visible disability, and they'll have this celebrity do a political commercial endorsing a candidate or an idea, a ballot initiative, and you don't dare criticize the celebrity because he's disabled. And if you do that, you are just a heathen. You are reprobate. And they do this on purpose. They put people in the political arena that they think are immune and hands off. You can't comment on what they say or what they do. And I throw that out. I don't. If they're going to enter the political arena, then they're fair game. But Republicans generally in the past have cowered away from this, and this is the way it is for judges. I understand tradition and all that where the judiciary is concerned and the independence of the judiciary, but they are a co-equal branch of government, and there are apparently some rules that apply to them that the other two branches don't get, such as people aren't allowed to express opinions about them, even though they make mistakes, even though they make bad moves, even though they are corrupt in many cases, even though they are political operatives first and judges second. I mean, they already have the protection of illusion. You have a political hack who's named as a judge, and he gets to rule as a judge when he's acting as a hack. He already gets that cover. And then to further, and you can't comment on it, and you can't criticize it. But let George H.W. Bush nominate a sitting appeals court justice or judge like Clarence Thomas to the Supreme Court, and all bets are off. You can destroy him. You can go out and rip him new one. You can do everything you can to stop him in his tracks. But nobody's supposed to be talking about Judge Robart here. And I know it's a fraternity, judges and people in the judicial system and so forth. And I do know they have their own decorum, sense of decorum and so forth. But the idea that they're immune to criticism and above it, I think if they want to make law, they should run for office. But that's not how the left does it. The left uses political hacks disguised as judges as insurance for when they lose elections. It's actually, in a political sense, it's very smart. Anyway, on the Justice Kennedy business, it mentions here the Daily Caller story that even Judge Gorsuch clerked for Kennedy. And the whole story is that the Trump administration is trying to telegraph to Kennedy it's okay to leave. Kennedy's 83. It's okay to leave because we got you covered. Whoever we're going to put in there is a clone. Somebody you know, somebody you like, somebody who worked for you, somebody you respect. And I don't know if there's any truth to this. I mean, this is the Daily Caller interpreting this as the Trump administration trying to send a signal to Kennedy to resign or retire. Now, if Kennedy went first, does that change the confirmation strategy? For example, if one of the four libs, if one of them happens to retire or something else happens, and their seat becomes open, and Trump nominates a Gorsuch-like person or a Brett Kavanaugh, it's going to be, as I say, nuclear war. But would it be if it were Kennedy? Would it be as intense? Because Kennedy's not thought of as a liberal seat, and the libs think they own those four seats. They are their seats in perpetuity. They are entitled to those four seats. Kennedy's seat is known as one that goes with the flow. He's not known to vote strictly with either side. So there may be something to the strategy here, that the actual way to get a conservative majority on the court would be to not wait for one of the libs to leave, but rather to replace Justice Kennedy here in the wake of replacing Justice Scalia. So no inside knowledge on this, just sharing with you all that is floating out there.